Remember during the campaign when Trump constantly said America is going to be super rich and full of opportunity? Well, apparently, the new message from the top is forget all that. The elites want you to think small, dream small, and shut up while they keep the big stuff for themselves. You can't talk about building up the economy when everything you do is absolutely counterproductive. So let me prove to you why the economy is not going to grow, and maybe that's the plan all along. And this isn't about protecting the planet or balancing the budget. This is about keeping you in your lane. The fewer dreams you have, the less they have to deliver. Case in point, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, a $4 trillion monstrosity, which is basically a masterclass in how to shrink the economy, shrink opportunities, while fattening up the fat cats. Medicaid cuts, lawsuit shields for the government, barriers to injunctions so you can't even challenge them in court. It's basically we run the show, you pay the cover charge, and no refunds. So let's go over this monstrosity real quick. So the first thing in it is basically it's kind of a scam because they just move some numbers around to make it look much better than it actually is. So the bill is written. You can see that the primary deficit increase would be 3.3 trillion. Bill, if temporary measures are made permanent, which they were, we're at $4.5 trillion deficit based on this. What happened to government accountability? What happened to shrinking the budget? What happened to the Republican Party? Moving on, let's take a look at the deficit impact of the BBB. So healthcare provisions, we already know that they're cutting Medicaid, Medicare, $800 billion. It turns out they also are going to repeal a lot of, IRA tax credits, health and education, labor, pensions. Let's slash those. We don't need those for regular people. Environment and energy programs, they're going to end up losing like 1 million jobs simply by ending like green energy initiatives. And then we go to the cuts, extended tax cuts, of course, for mostly billionaires. It's going to, with the tariffs, it's going to cost us $5,000 more a year. So, how is this going to help us? New tax cuts, even more for them. Armed services. You already know they gave ICE more money than most militaries in the world. So, Homeland Security way up. Judiciary and other, maybe give them a little bit so that they can cowtail even a little more to Trump's ridiculous overreaches, authoritarian nonsense. And this is from The Economist, a well respected paper. Forecast change in GDP down 2%. We don't need this. We don't need our deficit to get to 150% of the deficit. I thought we were going to bring in so much money that we weren't going to have any of these problems anymore. Also, all right, a BBB comes in as permanent. This is interest payments as part of our GDP. If we tried to operate like this as consumers, they would take our house away. Maybe they shouldn't put $200 million into a ballroom to show off to everybody and put a bunch of gold, ugly ass, gaudy stuff and destroy, the White House aesthetics. This is the ugliest chart of them all. First quintile, you're only making less than 18 grand a year. We're going to cut that by 7 to 8% of your money. If you're making, lower middle class, 18K to 53K, 3% of your money, you don't need that either. It looks like, if you're starting to approach middle class, you might get a 2% bump. Fourth quintile, you're getting a 3% bump. And as the richest, you also get a 3% bump. So why are they getting more while people who can barely make ends meet get less? And on top of all that, now that these people are losing 8% of their income, let's also take their food away from them too. So this is just a quick chart here showing you guys like how much of a cut each of these states is going to experience by 2029. Another huge cut, Medicaid cuts. You're going all the way up to 16, 17% across the years. Ridiculous. We're the only industrialized nation like this that doesn't have universal medicine. Just do that. That's the one thing that most people can agree on. We're all sick of paying what we're paying for our medical expenses. And then we had a plan for our children as well to not mess up all the air and make it just harder to breathe around here. So we're going to lower that amount too. We're going to like pump more greenhouse gases in. We're going to get rid of wind turbines. Let's get rid of the solar. Let's get rid of all of it so that way, Trump can drill, baby, drill. If you want the receipts and the context, this is what I do every day. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. And this isn't just about budgets, it's a worldview. If people at the top already believe America is too big, then you only get as much prosperity as they decide is safe for you. That's not a democracy. That's feudalism in a nicer suit. And while they're telling you to do more with less, they're flying private to donor retreats and upgrading their offices like it's HGTV. The hypocrisy isn't subtle. They just assume you won't notice or won't care. So let's take a look at Trump here.
Maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know?
And that's not what I remember him saying on the campaign trail. I thought we were going to have all kinds of money and we were going to be the richest and we were going to be the best. And now it just looks like it. Who cares, I guess. Forget all that. I'm in office now. I don't have to keep any of these promises. So this is what elite degrowth strategy looks like in practice. Gleaming towers for them, shrinking schools and services for you. It's not a theory, it's visible. And the big beautiful bill is just one more proof of concept. If this hits you like it hits me, like an insult, subscribe, share this, and tell people exactly what's in that bill. And you don't have to buy the story that we can't afford better. That's the story they tell you when they don't want to give it to you. If you want America to actually live up to the idea of being rich and full of opportunity, call your congressman, poll the public records, read the fine print yourself. The numbers don't lie, but the people who ignore them do. And if you like staying in reality, stick around here.